I'm Vin.
I'm sorry.
And this is Moving Mountains by Thrice. This is for the big homie Ao.
Woohoo!
Ao is the resident village
Thrice requester.
Yes. If you, dear listener, want to be like Ao and have your song reviewed or featured on the channel, it's very simple. 125 gets you straight to the head of the line, and then you get to determine what songs we do. If you do that 3 times, like Ao does, you get pushed down to the $75 rate.
For all perpetuity.
All perpetuity.
If you don't want to do it that way, then another way you can do it is you jump on Patreon.
Community option.
Yeah, that's the community option.
That's my favorite.
That's his favorite. Okay, if you look at the links in the description on this video, or you can just look up Vin and Sorry on Patreon, and you can jump on the $1 tier or any of the tiers you want, and you join an alliance. They hang out on Discord and actually other different places too, and they work together to influence our song list. So if you want to influence our song list for as little as $1 a month, that's the way to do it. There's a couple other perks up in there. You can check those out when you go on in there. But yeah, that's
and the reason we do that is because you have, if you see other reaction channels, and you should like, share, comment, subscribe other reaction channels, you'll see that they cut the video up every 20-30 seconds or so. And the reason for that is if you do the song straight through like we do, then the ad revenue that you were going to split with Google gets directed back to the record label, which happens to us, and we did not figure that out till much later in our our career. And so when we tried to do what everybody else is doing, our folks said, no, you can't do that. Everybody's used to doing it this way. And so we've just been taking a hit on the, on the ad revenue.
on the revenue part of it.
But somebody gave us the idea of Patreon, so that's how it happened. So if you're curious, that's the story. Also, we've got a mini-series coming up. We've been doing a hell of a lot of taping as we're standing up our Amazon business. A mini-series is coming soon. Holy moly. It's the hardest thing we've done, like, as a family, I think. Aside from, like, trying to blend it.
It's tough. It's tough because it is tough, but it's also fun because, like I said, like a lot of the times when I'm working, I'm doing other things and I'm not around the kids. Like when we do school together, we're all together. But when I'm actually working, it's, I'm in the office or something. So I like being down there working beside them.
Nobody cares. Let's go. Thrice.
I speak in many tongues to many men, argue with angels and I always win. But I don't know the first thing about love. I prophesy and know all mysteries, all hidden things are opened up to me. But I don't know the first thing about love. I don't know the first thing about love. I have the keys to open any door, give all of my possessions to the poor. But I don't know the first thing about love. And moving mountains ain't no thing to me. I've faith enough to cast them to the sea. But I don't know the first thing about love. I don't know the first thing about love. But all other things shall fade away, but love stands alone, still holds sway. All other things shall fade away into the ground, into the grave. give my body up unto the flames. And never once have I denied your name. I don't know the first thing about love. I don't know the first thing about love. I don't know the first thing about love.
You know what? I like this one because for years and years and years I would read 1 Corinthians 13 and I always felt like, okay, so here's the breakdown, but I don't feel like I have it. Like, I don't feel like...
So 1 Corinthians 13, for the uninitiated, is a pretty famous Bible passage.
Yeah. Yeah, it's on a lot of like different paraphernalia, cups, mugs.
Well, shout out to Carmen. When Carmen married us, she read from 1 Corinthians 13.
Yep.
You know, love is patient, love is kind.
That does get read a lot at weddings as well, yeah.
Yeah. The original context that Paul wrote that in wasn't to people who were being married. It was actually to a church.
Yeah.
And the church was focusing on the wrong things in Paul's mind. So they were focused on people being able to pull off supernatural things, like, oh, this guy can speak in tongues, or this guy can do this and that. Or you had other people who were like, they were not big supernaturalists, but they were giving away a bunch of money, or willing to die a martyr's death, and all those, and they were losing the main thing, which is all those are given to us by God, or commanded to us by God, as acts of love to our neighbor and to God. And so they had missed the main point of it and just began focusing on the action itself. So Paul said, if I speak in the tongue of men and angels but have not love, I have nothing. If I give all that I have to the poor and submit my body to the flames but do it without love, I have nothing, blah, 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 blah.
Well, like, Jesus was always really focused on what was going on inside of a person, because you can do things outwardly and look like this awesome person, but really be a terrible person on the inside. And we're all terrible people on the inside. Like, that's what the Bible says. Which is absolutely, totally and completely clear if you're just honest with yourself. I was actually talking to one of our kids the other night, and they want to be perfect. And I was explaining to them, what you are always explaining to me, like, we don't expect anybody to be perfect, because we know that everybody in the inside, like, we all have issues, like. And anyway, so the conversation was good, but Jesus talked a lot about what was happening on the inside of people, not so much like your actions. And I think that 1 Corinthians 13 is more about that. That's why he says, like, you can do all of these awesome things, but if you don't have love, they're not worth anything.
Which, if you take Jesus seriously, whether you call yourself a Christian or not, that's a terrifying passage. I remember the first time I read it, and I was like, why are people like romanticizing this text? Like, it was horrifying to me. And the reason it was so scary to me was, it was like, you could do these most extreme acts, and I wasn't a big miracle guy, but I was like, okay, I'm willing to die for this shit. Like, I am, and I, as far as a person knows themselves, I'm willing to die over this shit. Like, I'm willing, and we paid some prices, and we went up against the state, for God's sake. So like, we're real about it. But what's crazy is, one of the reasons, like, I've never really gone into some of the things that we've done for the gospel is because, one is, just as a matter of course, Jesus said, don't let your right hand know what your left hand is doing. Like, don't go around and tell everybody all of your exploits. I mean, come on, who cares? But the second part of it is that, I am very pessimistic.
There's 2 verses about stuff like that.
I'm very, very pessimistic about the purity of my motivations on anything. And the bigger it is, like, I remember one time we were, like, in the middle of the whole situation. And one of the guys that we were, that was in the jihad, pulled up this article, and it was in China. And there was this article about us in China.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
And he's like, "Oh my God, we made it to China," and you know, our attorney called us and was like, "Oh my God, blah blah blah." Like there was
I didn't remember that.
well, yeah, I mean, they were talking to me. I mean, they weren't talking to me, and I didn't tell you, partly because like, you know, like I didn't want to make a big, you know, thing about it.
Oh,
we weren't together at the time.
No,
and
I thought you were talking about the, you know, the work with the homeless people that we were doing. I thought that's what you were talking about. Why did that?
No,
well,
we were embroiled in a giant. We were embroiled in a jihad with our, you know, whatever.
I see. Okay.
And somehow the story made it to China, and you know, people were calling us for interviews and all this stuff, and
okay.
Our, you know, my attorney at the time was like, you know, blah blah blah, you know, so like the more stuff like that started happening, and people were like, "Oh, we might book you for Fox News. You might end up."
Oh, really?
On, you know.
Wait, babe, are you talking about the stuff where we would take the kids and we would go to that place?
We had a situation.
Or you're talking about? Okay, I didn't know if you were talking about.
There's just a lot of things.
You've done so many things, babe. It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
So which version of you is this?
No, it was a domestic situation.
Okay, yeah, that was the question.
And obviously I was in the middle of my non-domestic stuff, so I was not going to go on TV. I was not going to go on on Fox News or whatever.
Right.
Right. You know what I'm saying? Like,
clearly.
But our attorney was really, really excited, and she's like, we had a couple people, and they were like, "Oh, you'd be the spokesperson, blah blah blah." And I just remember, like, the more and more that would happen, and the more excited people got, like, the more I was like, I never really, like, we always...
The purity of the motivation for why you started can be lost.
We always kept the main thing.
Yeah.
You know, and you know... you know, and I tried... Yeah, I really don't think that any of that stuff ever really got to me. But at the same time, it was like, you just become more and more skeptical about why you're doing what you're doing. And you know how the way people react to me and all this, you know,
yeah.
People, you know, like, so it doesn't matter what you're doing. Like, you can, all that stuff can get converted, and you just feel like, I almost felt like it was impossible to not get tainted by that whole situation. And then, like, you know, like, this channel is like the same thing, only in the opposite direction. So, like, the channel was, I'm gonna do something just for us, and there's gonna be no, like, God stuff. It's just gonna be us chilling, you know, like, I put in my work, I did my time, like, whatever, so I'm just gonna sit here and it's just gonna be about us. Completely selfish motives, you know what I mean? And I was not thinking about talking about God or showing people a different side of God or talking to my atheist friends, but, like, I was not, that was on the radar at all. And then, you know, this happened, so, but the thing is that you end up running into people, and then you end up loving people, and then if you love somebody, you're going to share with them what's important to you, you know, whether it's music or whether it's your walk with Jesus or whatever. It's just, you know what you do.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But that passage was really, really, really hard for me when I first read it, because I was like, really sitting and look at the applications, like, I could literally be dying on martyrs. And it wasn't about, like, going to hell or whatever. It was just about meeting God after some, you know, going out in a blaze of glory, because that's how I've always, like, I am terrified of being like an 88-year-old guy. You know what I'm saying? Like,
you'd be so cute, though.
I want to die in some, you know.
Oh, I
whatever.
know, babe, I know.
So, you know, like,
you could bring a lot of joy to some of those nursing homes.
I'm not going to be in a nursing home. That I guarantee you. I don't know whether or not I'm probably genetically disposed to being, you know, my dad's like 78 and he's still walking around, you know, doing this.
Oh, yeah. Well, then you're going to have to take care of me.
Your genetics are pretty good too. I've seen your mom. Yeah, so I just, you know what I mean? Like, it's just very, very hard to be able to, you know, understand your motives and read that passage. So, like, and then, like, get up there and meet Jesus and have him say, "I'm glad you're home. Good to see you. You know, here's your you did this, and this. and these great things happened, and here's why you did them, and 99% of it was for me, and not for the people we were fighting for or whatever. Like that was something that like always haunted me or whatever. And then in like being a person like, again, that people react to a certain way, it almost makes it impossible. Like I remember a lot of times that I'm like, I'm completely set to fail here. Because like no matter what I did, you just become this, whatever. And then you get up there and you say, I'm not a perfect person, I have all these flaws, blah, blah, blah. They'll be like, Vin is so humble,
Yeah, but
oh my God!
that's because the majority of people are like struggling with like, I don't know, whatever. I don't have to get into minutia. But you would be like, you'd be like, I'm really struggling with like, violent tendencies. And for most guys like in my vicinity, they're cowards. So it's basically you saying, my issue is I'm just too macho. Honest to goodness, I heard so many people say that. So Vin is just so macho, like that's his big whatever.
Well, I don't think
I understand they were misunderstanding what you were saying.
I don't think you heard so many people. I think there was like 2 or 3 people where that was an issue for them.
Well, that's
not so many people. That's 2 or 3 very insecure.
4. I've heard at least 4 of them.
Very insecure, people. But some of that stuff is just cultural, right? Because everybody had that mentality where I lived. Mm-hmm. And
that's why I said within the vicinity.
It didn't matter.
Smarter with my words.
It didn't matter. It didn't matter if you were a hard dude or like I was not considered a hard dude over there. I was not considered a hard guy in New York.
Well,
at all, by any stretch of the imagination. I wasn't no hoe, but I wasn't no hard guy.
What?
You weren't gonna. Nobody was looking at me like, "Oh, let's go try this thing." But like at the same time, like nobody was looking at us like we were tough. Like, well, my friend, everybody like looked at him like he was a hard dude because he was. He put you in the hospital on, like for no reason. Well, yeah, for no reason. It was kind of for no reason. Some of those people really did deserve it.
That's
So yeah, a lot of that stuff is just cultural, like a lot of, people like, that's a different topic, but yeah, it just, you kind of get trapped in the situation. No matter what you do, you end up being this little, whatever. And, I just remember a lot of times I'd be like, yo, you set me up for failure right now. Like I can never do anything for a pure motive because these people keep,
Oh, man. That's tough.
Yeah, and it didn't matter. There's nothing you could do. Yeah, I tried to make myself scarce, and then people would like really go after me, like. Then I try to like talk about as many flaws as I possibly could, and people are like, "Oh my God, I've never been in this situation before."
Yeah. No, I get it, babe. I mean, you're in a particularly hard situation.
So when everything blew up, I was like, it was such a, like, people will never understand, like, the degree to which, like, I was so relieved when that was, like, over. Because you're on this, like, train. And you're like, I want to get off this train. And it's almost literally impossible to get off the train.
You didn't need it.
No, I never needed it.
Right. And there's lots of people that need that type of attention or want it so badly. And so when they see someone in your situation being able to get that, it's very difficult for them. But when you're in that situation, you don't need it. So you feel the weight of...
I don't think anybody needs it. Like, I think...
Literally.
Yeah, I think
that people really...
People that don't have it think that they need it. People that don't have all that attention and people, like...
Yeah.
clamoring after them.
Yeah.
They think that they want that.
But if they had it all the time, they would change their minds.
If they had it, they would change their minds. They wouldn't want it. Like, I don't think anybody wants that. So...
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
But I just think that, like, it's just very hard in like...
When you care about what other people think.
To keep your motives pure, I think, is a big thing. And that was always something that was, that was something that was important to me. I wanted to have good motives, and I wanted to, whatever.
Yeah. I find it, if you care about the opinions of other people, then it's hard to do anything really with a good motive.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's featured in all of your decisions and whatnot. It's always what other people are going to see and what other people are going to say or think. And so you can't do anything for just the pure. I've come a long way in that, and I'm really glad that I have, because it just makes, I don't know, like it's a lot less pressure.
Yeah.
Unless you care about what other people think, just the less pressure. It's just, well, okay.
It's very, very true.
I do notice that, believe it or not, the channel is still one of the things that I have a hard time doing with a pure motive, in the sense of when I talk about the channel with other people, I always feel like it's not just, like when I talk about, I put some extra cash in the car so I can pass it out to homeless people when I travel by them. I can say that, and I mean, God is my witness. I don't have any whatever motivation. I'm not tooting my own horn, because I don't even actually think it's that big of a deal. Actually, I feel like I'm doing a lot less than I should be doing, but I still feel like it's a good positive thing to do, and I think that anybody that could do that should do that. And I think that bringing it up in videos or talking about it brings it to people's attention to say, hey, well, I could do that too. I could throw some money in my console and pass it to people or whatever. Mm-hmm. But the channel is always something that like I'm super proud of our channel, and I love the people that are part of our channel. Our viewers, the ones that talk to us and the ones that don't talk to us. And we have some super consistent viewers that don't, consistently when we put up a video, we get X amount of views really, really quickly. That means there's that amount of people that click on basically every video. And there's not that many comments at that there's a big jump in the view count, but there's not a big jump in the comment section. So that means people are watching and they're not talking. So there's lots of people that are watching, and I think that because I still care about what people think in that regard, not completely, but in ways. So when I'm talking to like another Christian about it, like I always feel like I have to defend it. And I hate that, because I feel like
defend the channel?
Yeah, because I literally don't want to hear them say, you shouldn't be doing that. I know I should be doing this channel. And listening to the satanic music or talking about this or that, like, I think everything that we do is wildly valuable. But for some reason, to have somebody, like, you know what it is, probably? Probably it's more like, I literally don't want to hear one more Christian just being disappointed in one more. I think I don't want to be disappointed in one more Christian. So I want them to keep that comment to themselves. Because I know that what we're doing is really, really good, and there's lots of people that get like mutual, we have like this mutual thing going on. Like, people encourage us, we encourage other people, and I don't know, you don't care. I know you don't care. I do, though.
Well, no, it's not that. No, it's just.
It doesn't affect you.
Well, disappointment comes from expectation, right?
Yeah.
So,
well, yeah, I expect Christians to be able to see what's actually happening, because
these the same people that were saying that slave supervisors were managers. They would manage the slaves out in the field.
What?
Like, you grew up with a certain perception of these people. I never did.
Right. And I absolutely did.
So it's like an argument from the greater to the lesser.
I literally thought people could hit a point where they were perfect.
Yeah. Shout out to the Armenians.
Dorian thinks you're perfect.
Dorian does not think I'm perfect.
He can't stand it. Every time I say, now your father, he's not perfect at that. What? He's not, honey. Everybody has stuff that they have to work on. My father? I'm like, yes. Yeah, your father's not, because he'll ask me, because he's thinking about girls now. He's 15, so he's thinking, relationship. What if, this girl's like this? So he'll ask me all these questions. What about starting your business, you loser? He'll ask me all these questions. He'll be like, do girls like this or that thing? That he'll say, and then if I say, oh yeah, I like that, then he'll say, you do? Does father do that for you? And there's some stuff where I'm like, yep, he does, and you can tell he's really cheering for you. And there's other things I say, nah, he's not into that. Today he was asking me about, there was a couple dancing on the movie, and he asked if girls like to be danced with, and I was like, oh yeah. I said, I do anyway. Not every girl does. I said, but I do. And I was like, cringing, because I didn't want him to ask, because remember he said in that video, I'll never slow dance.
You slow danced.
You did.
Yeah.
Twice.
It doesn't matter. This review is going all over the place.
So anyway, back to love.
It was 8.5 for me.
See, for me, this one's going up as a 9.8 because I liked the sound of it. But on top of that, it was just very meaningful to me because of what it was saying and him saying like that honesty of, look, I don't know the first thing about love.
Yeah.
Like he's got he's talking about what the Bible clearly states, like this is what it is, this is what it isn't, but he's saying I don't know. So, and I think there's a lot of people that are in that place where we're not really sure. You know, I think that circumstances in your childhood, mindsets that we have, TV, all these different things influence our thoughts on particular subjects.
Children definitely teach you about love. You know, especially when they're babies, because the relationship is completely one-sided. They can't do anything for you. But then being around them is their repayment to you.
Yeah.
Or a little smile.
Oh, it just warms my heart. Oh my word, yeah.
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 So, yeah, listening to that guy yesterday. I just wouldn't want you to reverse a vasectomy just because someone wanted to turn out that someone was his wife.
Someone wants you to have a child.
Man, you out of your mind, bro.
I said to myself, what?
I'm so happy I made a resolution not to talk to those people. I never told anybody my New Year's resolution, but I'm like, I'm not dealing with any of those people from that.
I don't make those.
From that whole world. I gave you guys a good year and a half. Holy moly.
I'm out.
Holy moly, sitting there talking all this vegan stuff, not harming animals, or you're like chopping babies up by the pound. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. God bless him. Anyway, see, Vin still has a long way to go about love. Vin out.
Sorry out.
Go.